Welcome back to the channel, guys. Before we get started, I want to remind everyone to like, comment, and subscribe. And of course, comment down below. Who do you guys have winning the championship? Because if I'm being honest, I don't know anymore. Right? At the beginning of the season, and even throughout the season, up until the playoffs started, my favorites were the Bucks. Right? I thought that they were the best team in the league, and I thought that they have the best player in the league, which I still do think so. I still think that Giannis is the best player in the league. But if we're being honest, now the title is more open than ever, right? I think out of the 6 remaining teams, there are like 5 teams. Is there 6 remaining teams? 8 remaining teams. 8 remaining teams. Out of the 8 remaining teams, you can make a case for 5 or 6 teams that could legitimately win the finals, right? Not even just make it, but win the finals. And something that I heard someone say was, this feels like a March Madness run, right? And I'm not even someone who watches college basketball like that. This was the first season where I actually watched March Madness in my life, which is kind of surprising, just being the big basketball fan that I am. But I've almost always been an NBA fan, right? Kind of trying to expand. So I watched a little bit of March Madness this year, and it's true. That's really what it feels like. It feels like seedings don't matter this year. Right, we have 2 play-in teams that beat the higher seed, right? And since the play-in's been implemented in the past 3 years, I believe it was, this is the first time we ever see a play-in team win a playoff series. So just saying that, the fact that we never even had one win before, that 2 play-in teams won their series is kind of crazy to even think about, because we'd rarely even see lower seeds beat the higher seeds in general. Right, and to see that 2 play-in teams beat the higher seed it's just crazy, right? If you listen to the podcast, I've been saying all season that this season I feel like really seedings didn't matter, especially in the West. But the thing I thought was constant was the East. And the Bucks and the Celtics were my constants. I was like, whoever comes out of the East, out of those 2 teams, are going to win the finals. But now I can't even say that. I don't even have faith in the Celtics, which I'll get to in a little bit. But I really don't even know who could win the finals this season. It's really up for grabs for any of the 8 teams remaining. And in my opinion, it's really 5 teams that are realistically can win. But I mean, even the 3-4 teams that I'm saying aren't realistic, even they could win, because I didn't have a lot of these teams even winning in the first round, right? I think we start with the lowest seeded Miami Heat versus New York Knicks, right? I'm recording this on the 5th before any games start. I'm pretty sure this is going to come out tomorrow morning, so the morning of the 6th. So I guess the only thing that could change is the Sixers-Celtics game is going to happen, and the Nuggets-Suns game is going to happen. Which we'll get to each game, right? We'll get to each one of them, and I guess I'll give my predictions kind of. I mean, even my predictions have been kind of all over the place. I mean, I thought the Bucks, like I said, the Bucks were supposed to be a team that was a shoo-in for the conference finals at the very least. And yeah, you can say Giannis was injured. He didn't play 3 games. If we're like, he played 2 games and 10 minutes, right? But even the 2 games that he did play, it's not like they won those games. They lost those 2 games that he was playing. You could say that he wasn't healthy, right? You can say that even in those games that he was playing, he wasn't healthy, right? But you can play the if game all day long, and it doesn't change the fact that they lost as a 1 seed in 5 games to the Miami Heat, who, as an 8 seed, I could see making a run to the finals, right? This is a team last year we saw be 1 Jimmy Butler 3 away from a finals appearance, right? And would they have won? I don't know, right? But Miami Heat versus the New York Knicks. The Knicks are one of the teams that I've kind of been doubting this whole season, and honestly, I still kind of doubt them. Because just looking at game 1 against Miami, right, Jalen Brunson had an okay game, right? I don't remember exactly what he had, but Jimmy Butler did a really good job on him. And game 2, where Jimmy was out because of his rolled ankle, Jalen Brunson went off, right? And then it's reported right now that Jimmy intends to play game 3. So I guess we'll see from there. I really don't think the Knicks, even if they get past the Heat, I don't see them beating the Celtics or the Sixers, right? I think those 2 teams are going to be way too much for them to handle, right? And I mean, honestly, if the Bucks and the Knicks played in the first round, I don't think the Knicks would have beaten the Bucks either. I think the Knicks had a really good matchup against the Cavs, which is one of their biggest reasons why they won. But even with all of this, I can't say that the Knicks couldn't make a finals run. They're insanely deep, right? I'm a huge doubter of Tom Thibodeau, but even then, he's a good coach. He's one of the better coaches in the league, right? I don't like his rotations, right? He leaves in player. He makes players play too many minutes, right? One of the reasons I'm not a huge fan of his coaching style, but even then, you see this roster has been phenomenal, right? Jalen Brunson, who since he was on the Mavs, I've been saying is that guy, has been playing like that. He's been playing like an all-star plus guard, right? And I mean, in the East, he's been playing like the best guard in the playoffs so far in the East, right? And you really can't. Either team could win. If I had to say, I think the Heat still are a little bit better just because of the top end talent. But I mean, they lost Tyler Hero, which makes a huge difference in my opinion, and Victor Oladipo, which not as big of a difference, but even Victor Oladipo is still a depth piece that they lost, right? And not Tyler Hero not being there just makes me uneasy picking them a little bit to even get past this series, because Tyler Hero is kind of their second best offensive player, right? And because Bam, I hate saying this as a Bam fan, right? I'm a huge fan of him. I've been saying he should have been DPOY for a few years now, and hasn't been living up to it, right? He has the Anthony Davis effect, where the idea of him is better than the actual player. And even though on the defense, you can say that at least he's carrying on the defense, which he is. He's definitely carrying on his defense is really what's carrying his performance. But even then, you can't really say that you can be confident in this team, right? Can you really expect Jimmy Butler to be a 30-plus point per game scorer for 2 more series, including this one, 3 more series? Right? It's just not realistic. Even though Jimmy Butler is, in my opinion, been playing the best. He's been the best player in the playoffs so far, right? He averaged like 37 points in the first series. You can't say he's not the best player in the league right now. But even then, he's still human, right? And we saw that in game 1 where he got hurt. And I just can't confidently say that the Heat or the Knicks can make a finals run. But both, even with me saying all of this, it's not out of the realm of possibility that one of these 2 teams wins, right? Moving on to, we can just stay in the East, and we can go Sixers, Celtics. The Celtics were my second pick for the championship, right? Winning the championship this year. And their first round series kind of made me uneasy, right? Like I said again on the podcast, where they weren't even playing around with their food. They just couldn't handle the Hawks. I think they let the Hawks get like 120 or 130 in one game, which is insane. This is a team that's supposed to be defensive minded, right? They're insanely deep. They have an insanely deep defensive team, right? Malcolm Brogdon, Derek White. These are players they're role players, right? And then on top of that, you have your two superstars or 2 all-stars, Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown, who are also great defensive players. You had last year's DPOY and Marcus Smart. You're supposed to be a defensive monster. You're supposed to be a defensive juggernaut. And you gave up 120, 130 points to the Hawks, a play-in team. So when that happened, I didn't even know if I believed in the Celtics anymore, which is one of the biggest reasons why, I can't even say that the Celtics should be the favorites. If you look at it, the Celtics are by far the best team in the league left. Right? Besides the Bucks, they are the second best team in the league. They are not playing like it. They have shown me and shown everyone in their first round series that, there is some concern there. And then on top of that, they go into this series, right? A series where I said they should easily handle business. And because they have the Sixers number, right? They've had a huge winning record against the Sixers for like the past 4 or 5 years since Joel has been there. And you go into game 1 without Joel Embiid, and you let James Harden drop 40 plus on you, and the team had like 120 points, right? You're doing that as the best defensive team left in the playoffs, right? That's your whole identity. The whole identity of the Celtics is their defense, and I don't care that they came into game 2 and they took care of business, because game 1 and their first round series has given me enough reason to be concerned, right? And then on top of that, the Sixers, man, the Sixers are another team that I really don't have too much faith in. James Harden has been a generational playoff choker, right? His whole career. Sure, he had one good game, but one good game is not going to erase the fact that he's been a choker for the past few years. And then when he hasn't, he's been injured. And Joel Embiid, as a huge Joel Embiid advocate, right? I've been saying he's one of the best players. He should have been MVP, which he rightfully earned. He's also a shoo-in to get injured every playoffs. Even if he's played through it, he's been injured every playoffs. And we go into game 1 and he's not available. So it's like, what can you even say about the Sixers, right? The Sixers are also a deep team, right? You have Tyrese Maxey, who's really good. Who's, in my opinion, he should be one of the more focal. He should be more focal point, more of a focal. He should be more of a focal point on the Sixers offense. And you see, even I think he averages like 10 points against the Celtics this season. So even he struggles against the Celtics, right? So who are you really relying on in this series, right? And you can't even think about after the series, right? Because if the Sixers beat the Celtics, if I do have to pick a team to win the finals, it's going to be whoever wins this series, in my opinion. Of course, all of this is barring injury, right? I can't predict injuries. I don't want to predict injuries. I hate when players get injured, right? Even players that I don't like, I would never wish injuries upon them. And I can't be confident that whoever wins this series even wins the finals. Because on the other side, you have the Warriors and the Lakers, right? You have the defending champions versus the Lakers, who have Anthony Davis and LeBron James, plus a decent supporting cast from the first time since 2020, right? This series reminds me a lot that why the 2020 Lakers won the finals. You had Anthony Davis playing like his full potential, which is a top 3 player in the league, arguably top 1 player in the league when he's on playing at his full potential, and then you have the defending champions Warriors, right? And like I mentioned with Bam, Anthony Davis has the same problem with Bam, where you don't know what you're getting from him, right? Their defense is insanely good. They're insanely talented defensive centers, right? And you saw the first game was a huge block party, right? Because of Anthony Davis, right? It felt like every other play was a block. That's what it felt like. Their defense was, was great. But even then, he comes into game 2, and I think he had like 7 points as a player who should be fighting for the number 1 spot in the league. As the best player, you cannot go into a playoff game and have 7 points, right? And I think I saw an Instagram post. It said on even games, Anthony Davis is averaging like 11 points on 38% shooting, and then on odd games in the playoffs so far, he's averaging like 28 points on like 52%, something crazy like that, which it's funny to see, right? How do people even think of these type of stats, right? Who even thinks and goes like, let me see this, right? Let me see odd games and even games. But it's kind of sad to see, right? Where you're seeing obviously that with Bam, the idea of Anthony Davis has become better than the actual player. If you go back to 2020, the reason that they won the finals was not because they were a super team, right? It was because Anthony Davis played to his full potential. He was going insane in that series, right? LeBron James is always going to be shoo-in for a great playoff performance, even at age 39, 38, 39, where people are still treating him like he should be playing like he's 28. You can't expect that from him anymore. He's 38 years old and he's still doing what he does. He is still one of the best players in the league, right? He's just not all time. He's just not playing at his all-time level. He's playing at a superstar level instead of all-time level, right? But even then, the Lakers, they have a great supporting cast. I think the Lakers, it just boils down to how does Anthony Davis want to play for the rest of this series, and then for the rest of the playoffs if they get out of this round, because the Warriors, they took care of business in game 2. They also blew out the Lakers, but the Warriors are a team that I really don't have a lot of faith in, and I really haven't in a lot of past series, because it just feels like they always get the injury luck, right? Not to say that they're not great. They're a great team, right? They're a dynasty because they won so many championships. But I can't sit here and confidently say that the Warriors would have beaten every team that they beat if they didn't have a lot of luck involved, right? It feels like luck is always on their side, has been on their side for majority of the years, which, I mean, you can't, of course, there's a lot of luck involved in any NBA series, right? In the playoffs, there's a lot of luck involved. No team has ever won without luck, right? Or if there are, there's very few of them. But to have this amount of constant luck, I can't put my confidence in the Warriors. I just can't. When I've seen other teams honestly go head to head with them and take care of business, right? So even then, the Warriors, because even if the Warriors take care of the Lakers, I don't think they get past the Nuggets or the Suns. And this is the only series with a 2-0 lead. The Nuggets beat the Suns 2-0. Have a 2-0 lead against the Suns. And regardless of what happens tonight, I don't think the Suns get swept. I don't think that they lose tonight's game. I hope this ages well, because it'd be kind of stupid if this will go up tomorrow and the Suns ended up pushing this 2-1. But I don't see the Suns winning. I don't see the Suns beating the Nuggets for the main reason, right, is something, again, I said on the podcast, is the Nuggets shoot an insane amount of threes, and the Suns are a mid-range team. The problem is that they're not a 2-point shooting team. They're a mid-range shooting team. They don't take advantage of the Nuggets' biggest weakness, which is Nikola Jokic's defense. Nikola Jokic is a great player, of course, right? He's a 2-time MVP for a reason, but his defense is horrendous. It's atrocious. There's so many words I can say, and they're not using it to their advantage, right? Looking at the Nuggets and Timberwolves series, the reason that the Timberwolves could even push it to 5 games, and honestly they could have taken some of those games, honestly, was because that they were an insanely good rim scoring team. Anthony Edwards is an insanely good driver of the basketball, and Devin Booker, Kevin Durant are not that. And on top of that, the Suns are, they're not deep at all. They really lost their depth, and their defense is also not that great, in my opinion. Right? I don't know the advanced statistics. I don't sit in front of a computer and look at stats all day. Right? I'm not a math nerd. I'm not a nerd like that. Right? But just watching them, it doesn't feel like they're really on anything, at least on the defensive side of the ball. And the Nuggets, like I mentioned, the Nuggets, right? They're the number 1 seed in the West, but even them, I can't confidently say that they're the best team in the playoffs left, because their defense is terrible, right? Especially if they go against the Lakers, I don't think I can confidently pick the Nuggets, because the Lakers get to the paint pretty consistently, right? All of their players are really good inside the paint. LeBron James, Anthony Davis are 2 of the best inside scorers of all time, right? So it's even the Nuggets, I can't really say could make the finals, right? It just feels like this whole video, I kind of just said a lot and hold on to nothing. I do want to mention one thing, right? If I feel like a lot of times I said I can't be confident in them, confident in that, because even though, right, some of these teams have blown out the other team, like the Celtics blew out the Sixers in game 2, Warriors blew out the Lakers in game 2. I can't be confident in them either, because it reminds me, I think a lot of people forgot what happened last playoffs, where even though there were a lot of game 7s, a lot of series went to 7 games, a lot of the games were blowouts because one team just came out shooting hot and the other team just couldn't climb back, right? And this is something that I really don't enjoy as a basketball fan anymore, because it takes a lot of suspense out of the game. 3-point shooting, when one team comes out hot, guns blazing, which is what happened in the Warriors game. I believe that was 2 nights ago, where Klay Thompson, I think, had like 7 threes by half. Right, that's crazy, right? It's really hard for a team to come back from that, and so that's kind of why I don't put a lot of stock into blowouts in the playoffs, because one team could just be shooting insanely crazy, which is what happened with the Warriors and the Celtics, right? And the other teams were just cold. Other teams came out cold. One team came out hot. They blew out the other team. That's how the story goes. And I honestly do expect a decent amount of 7 game series. I don't expect, I think in the first round we only had one 7 game series. Yeah, the Warriors Kings. I can honestly see any of these series going to 7 games. I'd be very surprised if we didn't get at least 7 game series. But yeah, I mean, like I said, I feel like I just said a whole bunch of nothing because as an NBA fan, I think this is the first time where I don't know what's gonna happen, right? And it's kind of fun, it's kind of scary. I think there's a lot of excitement going on, but I guess I'm just gonna say, comment down below who you guys think realistically could make a finals run and why, right? And I guess that's gonna be it. I'll see you guys next time.